In this video, we're going to quickly cover the basics of Figma by creating this wireframe of a shoe app details page. So to get started, I'm just going to delete that. And the first step is creating a frame. So you can get to the frame by clicking F on your keyboard or clicking on it here in this menu. And you can drag out a frame to any proportion. You can set the proportion here in the design panel. We're not going to do that. We're going to click F again or click on the frame up here. And when you do so, you have a number of pre-built options. And we're going to choose the iPhone 14 Pro. So now we have the good base on which we can start designing. So now we're going to go up to the rectangle and we're going to click it. You can also get there by clicking R, and then you just drag out a rectangle. That looks good. We are then going to change the fill color. Since this is just a placeholder, we're going to change it to this like darker gray. In future videos, we're going to actually add an image in the place of this, but this is just a wireframe. So now we're going to use the text tool. We're going to click the T here in the menu. You can also just click T on your keyboard, and we're going to type out shoe name. I'm going to make sure this is set to text align left, and we are going to bump it up to, let's say, 28. And that looks good. Now we're going to align this with the rectangle. So we're going to hold down Shift and click. So I clicked this, held down Shift. Now we have both in the selection, and we have these align options. So I'm going to align left. That looks good. Now what we're going to do is drag out further text, like a description of this shoe. So we're going to click T again, and then we are going to click and drag out a text layer. So now you can type in whatever you want here. I have some default dummy data text that I just pasted in. That looks good. You can further change its values in the design properties panel here. Let's set it to medium. That looks good. Now we are going to create the image slideshow. So just like we dragged out a rectangle, we can also do so for an ellipse. We're going to create a perfect circle. You can do so by clicking O on your keyboard or going to the ellipse in the menu here. And then we're going to hold Shift as we drag out a circle. If you don't hold Shift, it's not going to constrain the proportions. So this is true of creating squares as well as circles. Holding down Shift, it will have the same width and height values. So let's bump this down to 9. We're going to select the image here and align to the left. And now we're going to hold down Option and drag as we hold down Shift as well. So we drag out vertically aligned another circle. So now we're going to duplicate that action. So to duplicate actions, you can click Command D. And so we're going to create 6 of these to denote 6 images, and then we're going to change this one to be the same color as this image placeholder. So we're going to do that by clicking I on our keyboard and selecting this color value. So that looks good. We're going to create another text layer. I'm just going to duplicate this out. I am going to text align to the right, and we're going to bump this down to 12, and then we're going to say 1 of 6 images, and then we're going to customize of 6 images. So making a text selection here, and we're going to bump that down to regular, and we're going to change the fill color to a medium gray. So that's a way of, instead of creating 2 text layers, you can have 1 text layer with multiple styles within it. So now we're going to align this to the right, and now we're going to click and drag out a selection. So we have all of these selected. We're just going to make sure that this is align vertical centers. And it looks like it is. So that looks good. We're just going to bump it down a little bit. And now we're going to create a group. So to do so, we're going to click Command G. And so now, as you see, there's a group with all of our circles and our text layer. To get to an individual layer within this group, you can hold down Command and click, and now I've isolated the selection to that circle. You can also do that by double clicking within the group. And if there's multiple groups, just keep on clicking and you'll get to it. But even if there were 1,000 groups here, you can still hold down Command and select individual layer. So that's looking good. Let's just bump this up a little bit. Let's make sure this is all aligned. That looks good. I'm just going to change this to regular. And now we're going to add a recommended section. So I'm going to click the layer again. I'm going to hold down Command as I drag. If you don't do that, sometimes certain things will start moving. So it's good practice to hold down Command. All right, now we're going to duplicate this by holding down Option and dragging out a copy. We're going to format it so it's about half the width here. That looks relatively good. We're going to just duplicate this out, and we're going to say you might also like. We're going to bump that down, let's say 18, and make sure this is all aligned. It's looking good. So this is going to be like a thumbnail of another image. We're going to drag out another one. So this is looking good. The last thing we're going to do is create a button. So to do so, you can duplicate this again, or of course you can always come back here to the rectangle and draw out a rectangle. And notice you have these helpful guides. You see that little X. So it helps you align things. So we're just going to make sure that this is the same size. Actually, we're going to make sure this is all aligned. Looks perfect. And now we're going to change the fill color. Let's make this black. We're going to change the border radius, change the corners. So we're going to come up here to corner radius, and we're going to type out 6. And that looks good. Now we're going to just duplicate this text again. We're going to make sure it is aligned center. We're going to change the fill color, obviously. We're going to change it to white. Notice it's not showing up because this layer is above the text layer beneath it. You could just drag it all the way up and now it's above it, but you can also, on your keyboard, right click on it and you can bring it to front. I just use the keyboard command shortcut for that. So let's do so. And now we're going to center this, the alignment, and we're going to create a group. So now this is the button. And there you have it. We have the wireframe. Let's make this say buy now. And that's looking good. And now we can actually create a prototype. So we're going to go to prototype settings. We have the iPhone 14 Pro set. And so now if you click this present button, it will now present what you have here. And that looks good. So in following videos, we will make this more high fidelity. We'll add images and kind of polish the design.